establishing shot of the motorcycles to show people how we got here. We are in the South Mountains, which is a mountain range that runs north-south in Maryland. I think it's part of the Appalachian series of mountains that run north-south in the eastern United States. And we are at Crampton's Gap. There are 3 mountain passes here that were significant in the Antietam battle. Turner's Gap, and I think that's over where the South Mountain Inn is. I'll have to check that in post-production. Fox's Gap, which is to our south. Well, let's see. Here we are. Okay. Crampton's Gap is the top northwest one. Fox's Gap, Turner's Gap. There we go. Normally, I come here by Turner's Gap. But this was a monument built by the media, for the media, on behalf of the media. George Alfred Townsend. He was a reporter for the New York World. He filed daily reports on President Abraham Lincoln's assassination and its aftermath. He gained a following during the Civil War for his use of interviews and his ability to describe feelings as well as relate facts. Does that sound familiar to you, Tom?
Yes, it does.
His coverage of the conspirators trial made him a household name. Anyway, literary career, he had a gift for mixing fact and fiction. Does that sound familiar? One of the first fake news reporters.
Sounds like the news of today.
Okay, here's a historical curiosity. Some ruins marked Anno Domini 1887. But what was this? There's no plaque, no signs. A lot of bugs though. Speed. Heed. Does it say accuracy anywhere? Army artists. W. Watt is one of the best ones. He's the one whose work you see in Civil War books. And Army correspondence. So I wonder if it was more dangerous being an Army correspondent during the Civil War than it was later on. I'm guessing it was. This little pokey road here in the middle of the woods is the road that leads to the Kennedy farm, which is the structure in front of us. This is the farm where John Brown had his raid headquarters. This is National Park Service land we're on now. He made the attack on Harper's Ferry in 1859, and the road you use to get here from Sharpsburg is the same road that Daniel Harvey Hill took on September 17th, 1862 to reinforce Robert E. Lee's troops and hold back McClellan's attack at the end of the day. Daniel Harvey Hill ran his men from Harper's Ferry to Sharpsburg, lickety-split. Staging and planning John Brown's Harper's Ferry raid. The Kennedy farm. The Redbird, now known as Bonnie's at the Redbird. Actually, Bonnie's at the Redbird. Hey, we had a magnificent meal at the Redbird, of course. I got called honey and sweetheart a lot. Tom, however, did not. And what did you think of the pickled beets? Were they?
Oh, they were awesome.
They were up to your, okay. All right, so we're heading out to Antietam Battlefield. Okay, so I've got some Bry House stories for you. You ever been here?
Yeah, I think Trent and I came up here and looked, because Trent and I brought him up to Antietam a few years ago.
Okay, so I used to know the park ranger who lived at the Pry House. He worked on the battlefield. And he said they used to have this crew that worked there, and they were trenching an underground power source for the house. They were trenching, and all of a sudden, outside of one of the windows, they ran into all sorts of arm and leg bones. Apparently what was happening, the doctors were doing amputations in one of the corner rooms, and they were just flinging the arms and the legs into a ditch outside of the house. But this guy who lived here, I think his name was Paul, this is back in the 80s. I asked him, well, have you ever seen or heard anything unusual? He says, oh boy, have I. He said, there's definitely something going on at that house because I'm constantly hearing footsteps and thumps and all sorts of noises. Generally, it sounds like somebody's walking around in the house when there's nobody there. And then the other story is that he told me that they were rehabbing the inside of it or something, or cleaning it, and they had a cleaning crew there, and apparently they saw things. They just absolutely refused to go back in there ever again. So the local story is that the Pry House is indeed haunted. The Pry House, Army Headquarters, General McClellan, Signal Station, and here's what I was talking about, Field Hospital. Oh, Israel Richardson was wounded. While leading his division at Bloody Lane, his wife and sister cared for him in the upstairs bedroom for over a month until he finally succumbed to his wounds on November 3rd. Yeah, that's right. We were trying to figure out if the ghost wasn't Israel Richardson. So when we used to do the overnighters here, the 3rd Maryland, we used to camp right there. We always have our tents around there. I never ever got a good night's sleep at Antietam Battlefield Park. I mean, I was never haunted or anything, but I always had these dreams about flashes and explosions, and you know, it's just going all night long. I could never get to sleep here. It's a weird place to be at when the lights are out, by the way. I attended the church service in the Dunker Church one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we all sat around and sang Amazing Grace and Rock of Ages. Well, back home after 183 miles. That was a fun ride.
Ride free, brother. Ride free.